In our top story this hour, Home Affairs Director General Mkuseli Apleni has been suspended. Minister Hlengiwe Mkhize made the announcement in a statement this afternoon. Apleni had to fend off questions about the Gupta family's citizenship status recently. According to leaked documents, Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba might have waived a physical residency requirement when deciding to grant the Guptas citizenship. This was whilst he was Home Affairs Minister. Their application was initially denied, but the decision was overturned on review. Now, for more on this story, we're now joined by Mr. Apleni's lawyer, Sandile July. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Mr. July. Did this news come as a shock to your client?
Yes, indeed. Although we were expecting, because sometime last week the minister sent a letter of intention to suspend our client, and we responded to the letter. Today he then received a letter of suspension.
So he did have a week's notice then that this was coming, or was the letter to say, why shouldn't we suspend you?
It was saying, tell us why we should not suspend you.
All right. Yes. Do you know why he's been suspended? Was he given reasons?
The reason for the suspension we don't know, but what we do know is the allegations that were made against him, on which he was invited to make the representations on, and subsequent to that, then we got a letter which does not say anything about the response that was made, except to accept that there's a detailed response that the minister received, but it doesn't say. She doesn't say anything about the merits or the content of the response.
Can you tell us anything about the allegations that were made against him in the first instance?
Listen, these allegations are flimsy allegations. It's allegations about failure to call a meeting with the staff, to meet with the minister, and I think the minister forgot that on 3 occasions Mr. Apleni called those meetings, and they were cancelled at the instance of the minister. That's one allegation. The other allegation has to do with about Mr. Apleni having asked by the minister to settle matters which are legal matters, where there are legal disputes, and we don't even know what it's referring to. As you would appreciate, Home Affairs has got a lot of litigation matters. So when you say to a person, settle the litigation matter, we don't even tell which litigation matters are you talking about.
All right. So in the first instance, those were the allegations that were levelled, and you're saying that he responded to this first letter, and today he was then suspended, but there was no reference at all to those allegations, rather that...
No reference. Nowhere does he say, I don't agree with the submissions that we have made. It just says, I acknowledge a receipt of your submissions, and you are hereby suspended. That's it.
So what's the course of action now for your client? I mean, you know, on the face of what you're saying, it doesn't seem like dismissible offences given his track record and his years of service.
We will, of course, challenge the suspension on the basis of unlawfulness. We believe that it is unlawful. We don't believe that he has got powers to suspend the DG. Those powers reside with the president.
So were they getting along, the minister and the DG? Because that could have contributed to this, what looks like is going to be a breakdown in this relationship.
That one I don't know. That Mr. Apleni can answer to that. I don't know that one.
And the public will also be asking questions about the whole Gupta citizenship affair. Might that have come into play, or you have no idea if it's linked at all?
No, on those allegations, there's nothing. There's no reference to the Gupta issues at all. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Mr. July, we're going to leave it there, but we'll wait to see how this story plays out. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Sandile July, who's the lawyer representing the now suspended DG Mkuseli Apleni from the Department of Home Affairs. Now, the South African Revenue Service, SARS, has outlined a range of action that it plans to take against KPMG, including reporting the audit firm to Parliament and the Finance Minister. Last week, KPMG withdrew part of its report in a unit at SARS, claiming to be rogue or operating out of the bounds of the law. SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane disbanded the unit when he assumed his position, and he says that he stands by his claim that the unit was rogue. He says that KPMG only withdrew the report because it wants to portray SARS in a bad light.
SARS is taken aback by KPMG's unethical conduct and is adamant